with us once more, and we're going to continue our conversation. Emma, as far as your journeys with music and dealing with youth, what is the thing that has inspired you the most, would you say?
In my journey with my music, I mean, I feel like my journey as a musician, there have certainly been things that inspired me through my journey with music that are different to the things that inspired me as my journey through, through coaching youth. For music, I think the most inspiring parts of my career thus far have been the interactions I've had with people. You know, my music is not everyone's cup of tea. And the joke is, I don't want to be somebody's cup of tea anyways. I'd rather be their shot of tequila. That's not... I don't drink, so that doesn't work for me anymore. But, But for me, it's a case of, those people that you can impact, they're the ones. My cat wants to join the party. The ones who you impact, they're the ones that keep me inspired. One particular instance, I started my career in DC as a street performer, and so I would go out every morning at the crack of dawn to sing for people on their way to work. Over Christmas time, I go back to Iowa, where my family live, so that I can spend Christmas with them. However, not everybody was aware of my family life, so I was gone for maybe 10 days and got back and sang at a different spot because my normal spot was, taken. And I was like, okay, cool. But a woman rushed up to me and said, "Oh my goodness, thank God you're here. I've been looking for you everywhere." And I'm thinking, what? Okay, weird. She shoved an envelope into my hand and then ran off. In the envelope, and I was very green at this point. I didn't even think to be wary about what was in the envelope. Yeah. But I opened the envelope. There was a Starbucks gift card in there and a fully typed letter addressing me as a songbird, and then talking to me about how, my music in the mornings helped her hold on. She was working ridiculous hours. She was a solo mom. She had very little sleep. She had no time for herself. She was, feeling isolated from her friends. She had no support. Her work environment was not healthy. She was feeling very lonely and down. But my music on Wednesday mornings was a light in her life. And so she had taken the time to write me this gorgeous letter telling me thank you. And I was so touched, and I've got no idea who she is. Absolutely, I couldn't pick her out in a crowd. I've got no idea. But I got a tattoo on my arm as a tribute to her. To just remind myself that what I'm doing is for something bigger than me.
Yes, and it matters a lot to those receiving.
Right, exactly. And that, I guess, moves on to my other point, which is, your question of like what inspires me to work with my young people and, as I'm working with my young people. And I think it's exactly the same thing. When the teenagers that I'm working with, as an adult, I understand how powerful and how overwhelming it can be to come to a realization through the songs that I'm writing. As I'm writing Rise from the Ashes, as I'm writing Faith in You and recognizing the wolf I feed, like everything that I write is me learning more and more about myself. And so to be able to facilitate that learning in a young person's mind and help them to grow into happy, healthy, resilient, strong, confident young adults, that inspires me on a regular basis. Because when I was a teenager, my mother really did her everything for me. But again, I was personally dealing with, brain injury, as well as being a precocious young person, as well as having been sexually assaulted from the age of 5, as well as, learning what it was to be a person of color in a predominantly white neighborhood or a white social group, and don't get me wrong, racial conflict is not nearly as, it's very different in New Zealand than it is here in the States. But, I was still trying to figure myself out a lot. And I felt very isolated and I felt very alone for much of it. And so to be able to be that person in a young person's life to help them recognize that the answers are within themselves and that I'm here to support them as they find those answers out for themselves, that inspires me.
Great. And a great inspiration that is, and a great contribution to the lives of so many that, like you say, all of the distractions and all the, unknown things makes it particularly hard.
Yeah.
These times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I read something that the World Health Organization has estimated it's going to take us 10 years, at minimum, to recover emotionally and mentally from this pandemic. And obviously it still hasn't, we're still going.
Yes.
Yes. New Zealand's gone back down on lockdown as of midnight last night. So, things are, it's crazy and we're living through history, but, I think that, again, this is the opportunity for us to get creative, think outside the box, remember our communities, remember how strong and resilient we are solo, but also together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Sorry, I get a little bit emotional thinking about this.
Don't worry about it.
Keep it together, Emma. Keep it together.
You're getting me too. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. I also saw that you can get political when necessary, as and humor is also a healing thing too. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, as I was scrolling through, I saw that you were on The Daily Show. And I saw a clip of you at the Donald Trump presidential Twitter library. And your face was priceless. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so I definitely was raised to be political. I was raised to give a crap. My mother, was always political, even when she was a teenager. And so, being born and raised in a country like New Zealand is very different to being born and raised here in the States. And so I say that to mean, New Zealand's very progressive, and we were, one of the first countries to have a female prime minister, to give women the vote, to legalize prostitution, to, legalize the LGBTQ marriage equality bill. So I was raised very politically. For me, however, it's more than just how I was raised, I think, because I think in many ways, especially as artists, it's our responsibility, not to quote, what's her name? Nina Simone, but I think it's our responsibility to recognize that our voices matter in times of struggle. And in my, throughout high school, I took a few philosophy papers, and I've always been very big on just equity, not equality, equity.
Yes.
And for me, that's why I'm so involved in politics. That's why I perform at events that, are put together to ensure that the displaced community have roofs over their head. That young people who are in the foster care system are with people who can give them love, because not everybody is born equally, unfortunately, and it is our responsibility for the fortunate to give back. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, that means you have to be political.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, we're all deserving of love. We're all deserving of safety. We're all deserving of food. We're all deserving of being treated fairly. And so I will write about that until I can't write anymore.
And thank you for that. Yes. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up. Tell us about, you have a film coming out and
the film came out a couple of months ago. It's called Born in Crisis. It is available on YouTube at the moment. Was directed by Gene Sizemore, who was a local DMV filmmaker and photographer, and it basically chronicles my Write a Song a Day challenge and the, how powerful music can be when it comes to working through our trauma, basically, but how beautiful it can be at the same time. The word crisis in Chinese is represented by two symbols, one of danger and the other of opportunity. So that's kind of back to the wolf I feed. Which one do you want to look at, Yes. So that the album, the film came out a couple months back. The album dropped 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm now about to, I'm rolling out a whole bunch of other material, focusing on this new website that I'm rolling out, as well as launching a more streamlined action for young people who are interested in writing their struggles into song. So you can stay updated about that on my website, emmagmusic.com. With thanks, I need to give a massive shout out to Molly Rowland of Heartcast Media, who's helping me with that transition. And then of course I've got my audiobook, which will be coming out currently at the moment for my members of my inner circle, which is called Emma G Nation, and will be rolling out on YouTube at a later date. But you'll need to watch this space on my website to find out when.
Right, and we're going to have you come back, because it's such a wealth of information and sharing, and I really appreciate you being vulnerable and just really talking in an authentic way to listeners here and to me. And I'm sure people who are listening have been encouraged, because you have encouraged me, and I wish you the best with all that you do, and just applaud your efforts and the way that you apply yourself to whatever you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emma G, for coming on Sophie's Parlor.